You did something that most people are too desperate to do. Someone came into your life and they wanted you to chase, they wanted control, they wanted the upper hand. And their weapon of choice was silence. Strategic, calculated, weaponized silence. They ignored you, not accidentally, not out of genuine hurt. They were testing something. They were measuring your desperation against their power. And the moment you caught it, the moment you saw the game board, something shifted inside you. You didn't fight it, you didn't beg, you didn't send the messages everyone expected you to send. Instead, you did something that absolutely terrifies people who rely on your desperation to feel stable. You ignored your ignorer. You looked at their game and said, without words, without drama, without explanation, most importantly, I'm not playing. And then you walked away so completely that weeks later, they are still trying to understand what happened, still trying to process how rejection they initiated is now destroying them through the very silence they created. They never saw it coming because people like them have built their entire identity around one core belief. You need them more than they need you. And your silence just dismantled that belief entirely. Here is what they didn't understand over you. Over the last time, you've been through things that fundamentally changed your relationships with loneliness. The kind of things that make you realize being alone is actually the peaceful option compared to being with someone who's playing games. Think about that. You know what it feels like to be rescued into psychological warfare disguised as a relationship. You know what it's like to win games you never wanted to play, to shock people with your resilience, only to realize that winning against someone you love, is the worst kind of victory. Worst kind of victory. So, when this new person showed up and their honeymoon phase was absolutely pristine, genuine, warm, everything you'd been missing, you felt something shift. Finally, maybe a real person, someone who wasn't strategic, someone who wasn't performing, and for about 30 seconds you believed it. Then the switch happened. That's when you started seeing the tells. The way they transitioned from genuine to calculated, the subtle shift in their energy when they thought you were not paying attention. You watched them morph from being someone with an actual heartbeat to being someone running a playbook. And the playbook was always the same with these people. It's the same patterns repeating, same tactics, same strategic moves, but their specific weapon with you was withdrawal. They were going to ignore you, create distance, make you feel the weight of their absence so accurately that you'd come crawling back, desperate to restore what they'd taken away. That's how they maintained control. That's how they stayed powerful. Except except you'd already processed it. The moment you saw it happening, something in you recognized the game because you'd lived through similar games before. And you realized something that changed everything. You were not going to chase this time. You were not going to send carefully worded messages trying to win them back. You were not going to check your phone obsessively, hoping for contact. While they were sitting in their silence, convinced they were breaking you down, strategically planning their re-entrance when you'd be most grateful, you had already made a decision. A silent, powerful decision that required no announcement. You ejected yourself from the game completely. The thing that's destroying them right now is that they expected a certain timeline. They expected you to feel the pressure immediately. Hours would pass and you'd reach out. Days would go by and you'd start spiraling, checking your phone, wondering what you did wrong, shrinking yourself again. They thought weeks would be the maximum before you'd cave and apologize for something you didn't even do, just to get them back. That's the script they've always worked from. That's how this always goes. Someone ignores them, creates distance, and everyone eventually comes back because the cost of being without them feels too high. But you changed the equation entirely. You didn't just accept their rejection. You didn't question it or try to convince them otherwise. You didn't keep one foot in the door hoping for reconciliation. You took them at their word completely. They said they didn't want this. You believed them. They said they needed space. You gave them infinite space by removing yourself entirely. They said it was over. You accepted it. It was over. And then you actually left, not gradually, not with lingering hope, not with breadcrumbs of contact designed to keep you accessible. You disappeared so thoroughly that it's like you were never there. And this is where their destruction begins. For the first time, few hours, maybe first day, they felt relief that something else underneath, expectations. They thought they'd finally broken through your defenses, finally gotten you to back down. They felt powerful, but underneath that power was this expectation that you'd reach out soon, that this was just a cooling off period before you'd come back, humbled, chastened, ready to do things their way. The expectation made them comfortable because they could stay in denial. They could tell themselves everything was going according to their plan. Then days turned into weeks and something shifted. They started wondering why you hadn't reached out. They'd check their messages looking for something they might have missed. They'd think about what to say when you eventually did contact them, rehearsing conversations in their head, preparing their explanation for why the withdrawal was necessary, how it was about them needing space, and not about you. Not about you. They'd create narratives that positioned them as the one who cared most, who was hurt most, who was trying to protect themselves. And the confusion started setting in because nothing in their experience prepared them for something who just stayed gone. By the third week or month, the panic really started. Yeah, the panic. This is when the cognitive dissonance becomes unbearable. They realized you might actually not come back. The silence wasn't a strategic move on your part. It was acceptance. It was you taking them completely at their word and actually living. And that terrified them because their entire identity is built on being the one who lives, the one who chooses distance, the one who maintains power through withdrawal. They were supposed to be in control, but you took control away by accepting their rejection so completely that you made it irreversible. They started reaching out, maybe just subtle text at first, like on your social media, or a view of your stories, something designed to see if you'd notice, if you'd respond, if the door was still open, and there was nothing. You didn't acknowledge it. You didn't respond. You just kept living your life. And the lack of response confirmed that they were starting to understand. The door wasn't open anymore. You didn't just close it. You locked it. What's happening? What's happening inside them right now is something their defended state never prepared them for. They are realizing they were depending on you in ways they never admitted to themselves. Your availability was regulating their nervous system. Your presence was making them feel secure even when they were pushing you away. Your patience was accommodating their patterns in ways that let them stay defended while still having a relationship. Your pursuit was proving they mattered. And as long as you were pursuing, as long as you were there trying to close the distance they created, they could tell themselves you needed them, that you were dependent, that you couldn't function without them. But your silence destroyed all of that. It proved you don't need them. It proved you're functioning fine without them. It proved you can let them go completely and keep moving forward. And that's not just painful for them. It's fundamentally destabilizing to their sense of self. They are discovering they were dependent on you while performing independence. They were needing you while claiming they didn't need anyone. And they were relying on your accommodation while insisting they were self-sufficient. And your absence made all of that visible in a way they can't defend against anymore. Here is what's really destroying them. They can't control their own feelings. They thought they could decide not to care. They thought emotional regulation was about suppressing feelings through sheer willpower. But missing you is happening despite their attempts not to miss you. Regret is consuming them, even when they try to rationalize it away as a weakness. Obsessive thoughts about you are breaking through their defenses at random moments, when they are trying to sleep, when they are when they are with other people, when they are alone, and there is nothing to distract them. There is nothing to distract them. The feelings are undeniable, uncontrollable, and they are destroying the narrative they've been telling themselves about their own capacity. The breakthrough moments are coming at odd times. Sunday mornings, maybe, when they wake up and that old pool is still there. That feeling of having wanted something and then built walls around it until they forgot they ever wanted it. Except now they can't rebuild those walls because you've shown them what the world looks like without those walls. You've shown them what someone looks like who chose themselves. You have shown them that what self-love looks like in action, and it looks like a person walking away completely when someone is choosing games over genuine connection. They are realizing what they lost in ways words never teach them. They lost understanding, real understanding from someone who saw beneath the surface, who recognized their patterns and as a defense mechanism instead of character flaws, who had the patience to wait while they process their wounds. Most people don't understand them like that. Most people take their patterns personally. Most people judge their defended state instead of seeing the hurt underneath it. But you understood. You saw them. You recognized what they were protecting themselves from. And they took that for granted. They took that for granted until it was gone. They lost patience that was extraordinary, not patience born from desperation or need, actual strength, the kind of patience that requires holding space for someone else's process without sacrificing yourself to that process. They thought it was unlimited. They thought it was guaranteed. They thought patience like that will always be there. Now they are with people who have ordinary patience that runs out quickly, patience that doesn't accommodate their defended state at all. And experiencing the difference is teaching them yours was rare, was a gift, was something they should have valued instead of weaponizing. They lost safety. They could be real with you. They could drop defenses in your presence. They could be struggling or flawed or human, and you wouldn't judge them. You wouldn't weaponize their vulnerability. You wouldn't require them to be perfect. Safety is the rarest thing. Most people aren't safe. Most people judge. Most people use vulnerability as ammunition, but you were different. You created space where they could just be themselves. And now they are performing for everyone. never dropping their guard, never being real, never being human with anyone, because they don't have you to be human with anymore. Their realization that they lost something irreplaceable is hitting them in these quiet moments when they are alone and there is nothing to distract them. When they see you are thriving without them, when they watch you build a beautiful life that has absolutely nothing to do with them, that's when the full weight of their loss settles in. They rejected you. They chose distance. They chose distance. They weaponized silence, and you just accepted it. You said, okay, and you meant it. What they are experiencing now is something between grief and panic. Because of that, they are cycling through denial, anger, bargaining, and because you are not there to witness it, not there to comfort them, not there to be their emotional anchor while they process what they lost. That's why they're desperate. They are realizing that their patterns that always worked, that always got them what they wanted, have suddenly cost them something permanent. Everyone else came back. Everyone else accommodated them. Everyone else adjusted to their withdrawn style and stayed connected anyway. But you didn't. You said no silently with your absence. You set a boundary not with words, but with a complete withdrawal that made it clear. This doesn't work for me anymore. This doesn't work for me anymore. Period. And your boundary is teaching them something that years of explanation never could. Your boundary is teaching them that some people mean what they say, that some limits are real, that some rejections are final, that some consequences are permanent. Most people haven't encountered someone with boundaries with this solid. Most people haven't experienced a complete absence that communicates more clearly than any speech ever could. I'm not available for this dynamic anymore. I'm not coming back. I'm done. The months are continuing and your silence is teaching them about themselves at a level that's deeper than anything they expected. They are realizing they valued control more than they valued you. While their relationship existed, they controlled everything. The distance, the intimacy, when to be close and when to withdraw. That control made them feel safe. That control made them feel powerful. They thought relationship couldn't hurt them if they controlled all their variables. But when forced to choose between maintaining that control through rejection and maintaining connection with you, they chose control. And now they are seeing that choice clearly. They sacrificed an actual relationship for the illusion of power through control. And that's destroying them. That's actually destroying their self-image. They are discovering they valued you more than they could admit. While you were there, they minimized your importance, minimized how much you mattered, minimized their attachment. They told themselves it wasn't that deep. They that they could take or leave the relationship, that they were fine alone. But your silence is making the caring undeniable. You matter enormously. And admitting that scares them because it means they were defending against vulnerability while losing the one person who made vulnerability feel safe. Here is what most people won't do with this kind of loss. Will not do. They will suffer through it without growing from it. They will carry the pain without letting it teach them. They will grieve without changing. That's the path most take, because growth is harder than suffering. But some, maybe 5%, will look at this loss and realize it's a catalyst. They will pursue therapy not out of obligation, but out of genuine desperation to understand why they keep destroying things that matter. They will do the work of processing their attachment wounds, developing emotional regulation, learning how to be vulnerable without feeling like they are dying. They will use your silence as a wake-up call that other people cannot provide. The strategy is that this growth, if it happens, will come too late. They will transform after you're gone. They will become capable after capability would have saved their relationship. And they will carry that forever. The knowledge that they could have been different, should have been different, and would have been different if they'd been willing to do the work while you were still there. That's the kind of regret that doesn't fade. No, it doesn't. That's the kind of knowledge that haunts you. But you've moved on. You are thriving in the space they left empty. You are not waiting for them to change. You are not leaving the door open in case they future it out. You've built a life that's full and satisfying without them in it. And that's the ultimate destruction of their narrative. Not that they are suffering, but that you are not. You are functioning better. You are stronger. You are clearer. You are whole. You are everything they were afraid you'd become if you left them. And you became it anyway. Your silence is teaching them that consequences are real, that some losses can be undone, that rejection can cost you the person permanently, that defending yourself against love while relying on someone else's patience is a strategy that eventually fails. And it failed with you because you were stronger than they anticipated. You had been through enough that being alone felt better than being with someone who was playing games. That's the power they underestimated. That's why they never saw it coming. They thought your desperation was permanent. They thought you'd always need them more than they needed you. They thought once they had you, you'd stay ever through the games. Even through the games, even through the rejection, even through the silence. But because that's what always happened before. But you are not everyone else. You had an awakening. You've lived through enough that your baseline has shifted. You know the difference between being liked and being home in your own skin. You know the difference between acceptance and authenticity. You know the difference between companionship and peace. And you chose peace. You chose yourself. You chose to ignore your ignorer so completely that it circuited everything they thought they understood about how people respond to rejection. You didn't come back. You didn't fight for them. You didn't prove your love through persistence and accommodation. You just left. Just left. And stayed left. And you kept building a life without them. They are destroyed by your silence because your silence is the clearest evidence that you don't need them. Not because you're angry or trying to make a point, but because you are genuinely done. You accepted their rejection and you lived it. You enforced your own boundary, not with words, but with absolute absence. And that kind of power, the power to let someone go completely and never look back, is something they didn't know existed until you demonstrated it. Your silence continues, your freedom continues, your growth continues. All of that is exactly what should be happening. The destruction they are experiencing is the natural consequence of their parents meeting someone strong enough to walk away. It's the result of their rejection meeting your self-love. It's what happens when someone who's been defended finally decides they're worth protecting, even if protecting themselves means losing the relationship. They chose the rejection. You chose the silence. And both choices are creating exactly what should be created. Their awakening and your freedom. Freedom. Let them be destroyed. Destruction is consequence. Destruction is teaching, actually. Destruction is possibility, maybe the catalyst that forces them to finally change. But whether they change or not is no longer your responsibility. Never was your responsibility. Your job is maintaining yourself, building your future, growing into the person who knows his worth and requires people capable of meeting that worth. They are destroyed. You are free. Both are exactly right. Both are perfect outcomes of your strength meeting their patterns. Your silence destroyed them. And that's exactly what silence was supposed to do. Love you. Be safe.